Hi, lovely souls. I'm Jessie Lee Ross of Lonefolk.studio, and today I'd like to talk about 3 tips for finding your soul note and how that can help you connect to your true self, release blocks within the body, and help you feel overall in more alignment. So, in my last video, I talked about how sound is at the core of the very first experience of you yourself in this human life, receiving stimuli from the outside world, processing it, and experiencing this reality. And I also mentioned how a lot of cultures believe that when you are birthed into this world, the first thing that you cry, when you cry as a little baby, that is your soul note. And they place a big importance on continuing to sing that soul note throughout the rest of your life. Now, in this video, I'd like to talk less about your soul note being this one magical, precise note that you sang from birth, because obviously many of us don't have connection to that first thing we cried. We didn't place the importance on remembering that. So I'd like to talk about the soul note as being more of a process of remembering, as more of a thing that shifts and changes in time with you, and depending on what you're going through, depending on what traumas might be stored in the body, what things you need to release, basically just as something not so concrete and specific in the beginning, but more about finding what works with and for you at this stage in your healing process. So with that being said, I'd like to go into the first tip to finding your soul note, and that is instrument play. There are so many instruments out there that are specifically created and tuned to be used in such a way. There's singing bowls. I know many of you are probably familiar with singing bowls or flutes. It can really come down to any instrument, honestly, to just play with. Tuning forks, that's the other one I was trying to think of. Singing bowls, tuning forks, flutes, but really it can be any and all instruments. Just there are certain ones that are specifically tuned and created for this reason. So obviously a lot of us don't really know where to go to play around with some instruments in real life. To maybe take the singing bowl, for example. Where would you go to actually play and try different ones and see which ones you connect to? Which obviously doing it in real life would be ideal. But thankfully for all of us, there's this wonderful big tool called the World Wide Web. Where you can go and just listen to a bunch of different instruments and see what resonates with you, pun intended. So, for example, after hearing a few of them recently, I decided that I really would love to have a singing bowl, a crystal singing bowl in my life. So I kind of had a basic idea of what I was wanting to feel more of. I was wanting to feel more grounded in my life. So I went to look for singing bowls that are attuned to the root chakra, because that helps you to feel more grounded. And that's a C note bowl. So I just went on YouTube and I watched a bunch of different videos of different bowls, but specifically different sized bowls within that are tuned to a C note. And then I found one that really, really spoke to me, and I got it. And now I have this beautiful crystal singing bowl in my sacred space that I can go to at any time of day, and just play it and help myself to feel more of that note, more of that vibration, more of that groundedness. And it really hits me on a deep soul level, and it's been helping me to clear a lot of emotions that I need to clear, and helping me to understand a lot of the things that are standing in my way of helping me feel more grounded in this life. Um, so it's really been a wonderful soul note of mine recently. Uh, and the cool thing about playing with instruments like that and having an instrument like that in your life is that it kind of, these like droning sort of instruments like the singing bowl, for me it provides sort of a bass note for you to get lost within and maybe even start singing over top of. Maybe start doing some vocal play or making sounds along with it, um, which is really beautiful. And that actually brings me to my second tip for finding your soul note, which is vocal toning, which is just allowing your voice to come out and see what notes you land upon, see what feelings it brings up. I know a lot of us have aversions to this one specifically, because it's a lot of us have vocal blocks, and because of how hard it is, I think that represents just how powerful it can be once we release that. And truly, there's no other instrument that is quite as powerful and profound in sound healing as the human voice. And that's the reason why certain instruments like the singing bowls, like cellos, like flutes, that's why they resonate so much with us when we listen to them, because their sound wave structure is very similar to that of the human voice. And to go even further with that, there is no other human voice that is more profound in your personal healing experience than your own voice. Your voice is actually comprised of a chord of notes. Your vocal cords vibrate and they make multiple notes that results in the chord of your human voice. So it's unique to you and you alone. And it's the most familiar thing to every cell in your body. So using the human voice, but especially your own voice in sound healing, is huge, and it is the most powerful thing that you can possibly do. So how do we start? How do we start vocal toning? You can just start free forming, let something come out, just see where it takes you, or you can do things like a vocal sweep and see how that affects different areas of your body. That can be singing like ahs, that can be just humming, that can be using certain words, whatever you want to do. But say if you were doing a vocal sweep, maybe starting from low to high and just sort of feeling what happens at different parts of your body. Does it feel like a certain emotion comes up, or do you just feel a certain sensation? So just start playing with the notes and see how it makes different parts of your body feel. I know for me, for example, I have a lot of sinus issues. I get just a lot of sinus troubles, and I carry a lot of my anxiety in that area. When I get a wave of anxiety, it normally manifests up here, and I get stuffy, I get buzzy eyes, like fuzzy vision. So when I sit down to do a vocal sweep, I've noticed that there's a certain tone that resonates within my sinus cavity really strongly, and it actually sort of makes my teeth chatter. So that tells me that that's my soul note for my sinus cavities. That's the note that I should focus on when I'm feeling anxiety up there, when there's something that I need to release within that area. So yeah, I'll do it real quick to see if you can hear the difference of when I hit that note. I don't know if you can hear that, but my teeth are vibrating. So yeah, just start anywhere, do some vocal sweeps, let yourself just freeform, sing a melody over top of an instrument, whatever it is. just kind of let yourself play around with it. And yeah, to return to the thought of these internal blocks that we all have around this area. I know I personally struggle with that immensely. Just allowing myself to make noise, or really just take up any amount of space in general. It's really hard for me, and I know especially a lot of us have roommates, a lot of us have neighbors, and there's just this fear that surrounds making noise. A lot of us have been told to be quiet, to stay small throughout our lives, but really the act of making noise, and especially singing, it is so human. It's really just, it's not a matter of big or small, it's or loud or quiet. It's a matter of just simply being, just existing. So give yourself permission to simply just exist. And oh my goodness, how that permission alone is just going to allow your soul note to ring out. So, yeah, I think because that one is the hardest, that one can be the most powerful. And I understand a lot of us have some blocks to work through to play around in that sort of way. But if you ever feel inspired, just sit down and let your voice come out. I'm currently working through this, and it's already been life-changing. So, yeah. So, I guess that brings me to my third thing on the list, which is the simplest one, the simplest tip for helping you find your soul note, and that's through just listening to music. I know all of us have certain songs that just really hit you on a deep level. Maybe they bring up some kind of uncontrollable physical response within you, whether that be joy, maybe it's dancing, or maybe it's crying. Maybe it strikes up uncontrollable tears. So in this tip, I ask you to just think about, what is that song? What's that song for you? Is it a certain part of a song? Which, yeah, if you find the song, maybe you can get a little more specific about what exactly is it about that song. Is it a certain part of the song? Is it a certain lyric of the song? Is it actually the words that they're saying, or is it the way that they're saying it? Is it maybe a certain chord, or is it maybe even a certain note? And you don't even need to get that specific about it. Really, it's just listening to that song more often and asking yourself questions about, how does it make you feel? What is it about these certain tones that maybe are speaking to a soul note of yours? And yeah, just getting inquisitive into what it is about these certain songs that have these effect on you. Why does it speak so truly to the deepest parts of you? But if you can get specific about it, if you can whittle it down to, is it a certain line, a chord, maybe just a note? Once they sing that note, your waterworks go, or you get up and you just can't help but dance. If you can find that little note, that can directly translate to perhaps what one of your soul notes is. And once you figure out that note, to help you figure out what note it actually is, there's a lot of really cool free apps out there that you can get where you can play the note into it or sing the note into it, and it'll tell you what note it is, or what hertz frequency it is, and then you can figure out what note it is. And then once you have that note, that can lead back around to finding an instrument that corresponds to that note, finding a singing bowl that is that certain note of that song that really speaks to you. Or of course, it can just become the soul note that you sing or you hum to yourself. So yeah, those are my 3 tips for helping you find your soul note. I hope you found this interesting or inspiring. Maybe play around with some of these things. Just get inquisitive into what notes really have an effect on you, because really it comes down to what you feel. It comes down to where you're at in your healing process, and there can just be certain notes that we can use that can really expedite the healing process and help you reach really deep rather quickly. And yeah, so if you found this interesting, of course, check out the links that I have below in the description about more of our offerings. I would also love to connect and discuss possibilities about working together one-on-one to help you find your soul note. That eventually will be an offering that I put out into the world. But if you're curious now, feel free to shoot me an email at lonefolk.studio@gmail.com. And of course, subscribe to keep in the loop on more videos with thoughts, life tips, and just some cool shit about sound. So thank you for being here.